Hello, Speed Gaming viewers, and welcome to another Link to the Past Randomizer League Season 3 race. We are in Week 2. It is open week. On the left side of your screen, we have sab0tender representing the Team Sphere Affinity, and on the right side, we have Hazukitty representing Tile Roomies, who are currently up with a 6-0 point advantage in this particular matchup. I am Adalor, and in the booth with me tonight is P-Train. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic. Glad to be here.
Have a pretty good match. I'd say all the matches in this Invitational are going to be at least pretty good, if not fantastic. There's a lot of really high skill levels in the Invitational. Everything I've seen so far has been honestly really great, so I can say I'm looking forward to every single one of these matches.
Yeah, that's one thing I really like about our division in particular. Like, there's not one team I could look at and be like, oh yeah, they're definitely going to take it. Like, I think this is a pretty balanced league. I think this is a pretty tough league, or a pretty tough division. Talking about the Skull Woods division. So yeah, I'm interested to see what happens through the remainder of the season.
Like every division is just crazy. Like even you look at like some of the most known people, like Andy's team, the Pug Trio. Like even their division is a ton of talent. Like none of their matches are given. So like everyone's got to have work really hard for their wins. So there's a lot of strong competition.
Yeah, I think that says a lot to Fear Agent and the admins of the league and the work that they put in to like really make this a competition that people want to be a part of. The first season only had a handful of teams, and the second season, more than quadrupled in size. And of course, this season with both the Invitational and the Open League, we just have so many teams.
Yeah, it's literally like close to a couple hundred teams. There's been a lot of crazy number of participants. We are off here. We've got actually a simultaneous Sanctuary start. Interesting choice. Just finding 3 bombs, which will be honestly pretty nice for the beginning.
Yeah, the Sanctuary start is a superior start over Uncle Routing, and you cannot tell me otherwise. But one of the challenges of this route, number 1, bombs, that is solved because of Sanctuary, but number 2, rupees. When you run this route, if you go straight into Kakariko, Bottle Vendor can be a little tight if you don't get a few rupees in the chest. But we'll see how the tree pulls are.
This tier 1 repull could be nice to us. 20 rupees, that's okay. That gets us a little bit of the way there. Sometimes the bush crabs will give you 20 rupees, you never know. Just singles. Nope. It looks like they're both going to go ahead and the Lumberjack peak, which is like, yeah, there's people on both sides of the fence. I think like, Lumberjack only if you find boots. Ooh, flippers, hello.
That's interesting. So we will likely be doing Aga unless both Swamp and Ice are pendants.
That is relatively unlikely. It's we're probably seen an Aga kill at some point here.
So I appreciate what Sabo did there, because I was actually going to make this comment about the bush crab. When the bush crab started throwing out green rupees, I might have killed the bush crab, so I get one more tree pull before Kakariko, so I get 20 more rupees. It looks like Sabo's going for another tier, though. So we'll see what the next tree pull is. 50 rupees in the mushroom spot kind of solves our rupee issue for the bottle vendor.
Yeah, that gets us to 70, and then we got at least 30 we can get from the back of Blind Hideout. So we know we can get to 100 at the very least here. So yeah, it's he's definitely seen some interesting strats. Sometimes people will try to go for the tier 2 or the tier 3. It can be a little more work to get there, but I think you see a lot of that in like the people who are really familiar with NMG, because I think NMG route still uses like a tier 2 pull to help with its money, doesn't it?
Yes, it's depending on how you do the rupee route, but yeah, the optimal path is you use a tier 2 tree pull to get 20 rupees at that tree.
All right. 3 bombs going to the Kakariko. That should be more than enough to. Well, it's actually exactly enough to get us through the opening 3 checks, and hopefully we'll find more if they want to make any purchases. Because like you see, we're tight on money so far.
So it looks like in Blind's Hideout, we have a piece of heart, another piece of heart, a heart container, and 10 arrows. So not the most exciting Blind's Hideout you've ever seen. Although sometimes early game health, specifically in Mini Moldworm, it can come in handy if you have to use bombs to clear out that cave. But overall, not very exciting for our runners.
No, not so far. But that's just 5 of our Kakariko checks. We've got plenty more. We got the well coming up. We got the bottle vendor. We got Chicken Hut. We got the back of tavern. There's still time for it to catch up. chat wasting no time and goofing on sab0tender for not lining up perfectly at that chest and going off a little bit to the right. Maybe just look at the tracker or something off screen. We've got a bow in the back of the well. All right, there's an actual weapon.
Nice, and it does look like Eastern is a crystal, so that's probably going to be a play that both of our runners make somewhat early. I know that Sabo is comfortable with dark rooms in the back of Eastern. I'm not 100% sure about Hazu, if she is comfortable with the dark rooms or not. Bottle Vendor giving us a nice return on our investment.
I like to call it the savings withdrawal, because usually you give them money and you get a little bit back and just like a little bit of dividend. But now we made the withdrawal and got the big 300.
Sabo freeing the chicken.
We got a glove and chicken hut. All right.
So there's only a couple more checks we can do here. We have the back of tavern, we have library, and then we have the race game. Library having a hammer, so we're basically a moon pearl from Dark World Access.
Yeah.
Interesting to see what our runners do after this. Do you rush Eastern? Do you take your weapons to escape? With flippers there, I don't know if you even bother with Zora. Those, gloves put Zora in logic. You're a little short on rupees, which may make you prioritize the castle over South Shore. Oh, well, there's a pearl.
Ooh, wow. So we know we're going to have some early boots here. Interesting find. All right.
Yeah, I love seeing progression on the library, specifically if it's like pre-GT progression, and you know it is. Because you're definitely going to get boots at some point.
Yeah, and it's nice to know that you're going to have boots, because then you get to go fast. Yes, I feel like we could see actually, we could even see a Hazu might be going for Houlihan here, perhaps, or Back of Escape, or both. And Sabo's going to opt to take those bombs.
If she is prioritizing Back of Escape right now, I wonder if she's going to do Escape right after the save and quit.
Heart piece and a 50 and the key. All right.
Yeah, I think that's a good save and quit there. I wouldn't do Dark Cross with the map still at play.
No, especially not backwards. I feel like if you're going to do it forwards, maybe, but backwards Dark Cross is it's tricky.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to hammer the rat. She did start at Sank again. This might actually be a Houlihan play. I don't know if I would. Well, I don't know. Then again, though, you do have the glove. I was about to say, I don't know if I'd do this with flippers on Lumberjack, but the glove does put Zora in play.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how soon we have access to those flippers, really, which, again, we're waiting on. As soon as we have boots, pretty much. Boots and a lamp and at least one sword, or two swords, you know how it goes.
Yeah, from a routing perspective, I might have wanted to try the castle in hopes of a rupee hoard before committing to the land. But we'll see. If she rushes South Shore and finds something on Zora, that could really work out nicely for her.
Yeah, she decides she just needs enough for Zora. Yes, that was definitely Zora money, getting just past 500 and calling it good. Sabo's getting a bit bullied by the mini moldworms here, actually.
I think he picked up a bottle with a B. This might be the time for that B.
It actually might. Like, one B can, if you get lucky if it goes the right way, you can actually take care. Oh, look out!
Use your B, Sabo. Use your B. All right, he lived.
Jeez, when the mini moldworms cross the gap and come at you, it's just one of the scariest things.
Oh, flute. That's a nice find.
Got a bomb refill for your troubles too. And all right, well, we got a flute at least.
Yeah, anytime you find flute in mini moldworm, that's an instant save and quit.
Plus, you've got a bottle. You can go back and get that flute activation and the lazy kid check whenever you feel like it. Looks like Sabo's going to go maybe for Eastern.
This is an interesting choice. I think I would want to activate the flute before going to Eastern.
Yeah, because then you can just flute to 5. Like, that just feels really natural. I guess maybe Sabo's thinking I'll do flute activation whenever I get back to village when I have Dark World access. I don't know. There's a lot of routing decisions you can make here.
Yeah, and my big question with this route is when is Sabo, if ever, going back for Ice Rod? And it looks like Hazu is using the B. Very
That's a
nice
good
mini
beat,
Moldorm.
even better. Back of Saha's Closet having pretty much nothing of interest. So we're gonna see. Yes, I was gonna dip into Eastern. I like the Eastern play. When you get an early bow, it's like as long as you know you can do the Dark Room. This is easily. I like it. It's a good play.
Yeah, also chat bringing up a good point that Sabo may be hoping for the Pearl before he commits to Ice Rod Cave. That might make the fake Flipper a little bit more worth it because with the Moon Pearl, of course, you can check Waterfall Cave, and we know that Flippers are behind Aga, or behind Lumberjack, so we're not necessarily getting those soon, possibly.
Yeah, we need to. There are some hard locks to even get up Aga's tower. So, if those flippers lead to some major logic skip, it could be really valuable if you can actually do all the fake flipper checks. Yeah. Hazu's going to go ahead and activate the flute. Sabo finds big key to Easter in the first check.
Yeah, that's really nice and also really bad. Of course, a lot of times in the early game you'll dive Eastern, but it always feels bad when you get the optimal setup for a go mode dungeon and you're still looking for items. Just to make you wonder, what if I'd skipped this? What if my opponent skipped this? Sometimes that middle game can get to you.
Yeah. Eastern in particular, like this dungeon, like you wouldn't initially think it, but it can actually save a lot of time in go mode this dungeon. You don't have to do those 2 loops on the right side.
Yeah. Hazu being a little bit more conservative with the items she's found, going ahead and activating that flute, turning in the bottle to Sick Kid for a big 20. Unfortunately, no progression yet, but I do appreciate the thoroughness of her route right now.
Yeah, once you've got flute, it's just like these early checks are so much nicer to clean up. You can easily just go to 8 and take your Ice Rod Cave whenever you feel like it. First item in Eastern is a big 300 rupees.
Yeah, and that goes back to the hula hand. Oh, mirror in Ice Rod Cave. That could be bad for Sabo, depending on when he gets back there.
Second item in the big chest, big 20, and looks like he's going to not take the gamble. Going to be thorough here. I blame. I don't like the Eastern Palace gamble personally. I'd rather just get it all knocked out.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to make this gamble pre-Dark World access.
Yeah, I'm thinking like as soon as Sabo gets flute activated, I don't see why he wouldn't go take care of Ice Rod Caves. That seems like it's not far off for him.
This is an interesting play from Hazukitty. She is going to go ahead and do the mountain, which isn't necessarily a bad call. You have the mirror, so you can get to East Death Mountain. My only concern would be, you do have a clearable crystal in the eastern area. If that has mitts, which so far as we know it doesn't, but obviously Hazu doesn't know that, so you kind of run the risk of leaving checks on the mountain that you otherwise wouldn't have to.
Yeah, the early mountain is it's not terrible. I mean, you do at least get the save and quit point. Like you're never in your. You can take a little bit of time to commit to look at those 2 checks. It's really a seed feeling thing. Whether do you think this is gonna be worth it, or do you wait till later? Who knows?
Yeah, and I really like Hazu's Darkroom strat here. She is planting arrows in the wall and using that to help her navigate this cave in the dark, which I think is a real smart thing to do.
Yeah, I like the bow a lot for darkroom navigation. Yeah,
and she is out.
Our old man rewards us with.
She has to turn him in first. Okay, she makes it. Dying with the old man is the worst because you spawn back in the dark.
Yep, you get checkpointed right where you picked him up in the dark cave, and you got to do it all again.
So I have to imagine that Hazukitty is probably going to continue her trip up the mountain rather than, check Spec Rock and leave. If there's something nice up in Hera that could bite her if if Sabo's around and gives him a fire source, or if there's a fire source available before the mountain. Because right now she can't really do anything in Hera.
Yeah, there's not much. Assuming unless the keys work out, but there's a good chance we just get locked out of Hera entirely. Yeah.
But Hera is a pendant, so it's not required to clear. So possibly there's no consequences at all for Hazu here.
We'll have to wait and see what she finds. On Sabo's side, he has cleared out the Armos Knights, finds a 50 rupee for the last item in Eastern, so not really a fruitful dip in any respect, and has his first crystal.
I would imagine he would have to go activate the flute at this point.
Oh, no doubt. Like, what else are you going to do at this point? All right, so we got a small key in the basement cage of Hera. Not great news.
All right, we're getting a back of escape check from Sabo. Half magic in Hera, which is really nice. I think the only thing our runners have, you either have East Death Mountain or you have Front of Escape.
Yeah, Front of Castle.
Really all we have.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who goes for that first. I wonder if Sabo, because like you're in Castle, you just did the back, may well go for the front here. We'll see. But yeah, Hazu's definitely going to go ahead and clear the rest of at least East Light Mountain here.
Okay, Sabo's finally going to activate his flute. That is good. Hazu has a surprisingly deadly Spiral Cave. Hammer hitbox is the hitbox of the hammer is super jank, and when this cave is full of mini Moldorms, they all deal 1 heart of damage. You can take a surprising amount of damage when you get to the end of this cave. Like everything on the East Mountain hits you like a truck.
Oh yeah, the mini Moldorms, because they're so random, you really can't predict what they're going to do. And if you get comboed by one, you can just find yourself surprisingly dead in like Spiral Cave or the exit to Spiral Cave. Yeah, there are 3 of them in that room. They're terrifying.
1 hit from a Techite here would take out Hazu, and this would be a very costly death for her.
Yeah, looks like she's going to get into Paradox, no problem though. We've got 2 hearts in the bottom of Paradox, so at least you won't be a one-shot territory anymore.
So I imagine that Sabo would definitely clean up Ice Rod Cave right now, because although he does have access to the mountain, he doesn't have the mirror yet. I could see him maybe doing Front of Escape before Ice Rod Cave, but I'm hoping it's a matter of time before he clears up that location.
He's going to go to 6 first. Okay, we get a look at Desert Ledge. Big 20. All right, cool. And we'll go peek at what Agina's got for us for today. And this is fine. Like, this is another one of those checks that once you've got flute, it's very convenient to insert pretty much any time you're going to flute somewhere. So this is fine.
Yeah, this is a really good check. I wouldn't say really good, but certainly a viable option.
Yeah. All right, Paradox.
Another Rupee Horde. So, and this is kind of what I was saying about maybe taking a chance on like the Front of Eastern or maybe even Escape. All of the Rupee Hordes that Hazu has, like she's sitting on 920 rupees, which kind of makes you feel silly in hindsight, committing to the Houlihan.
Yeah.
Because she hasn't the Zora area yet.
Yep, no, we still have to check Zora. I feel like at this point we're looking at... I feel like it's going to be a sword on Zora. Or boots, one of the two. Because like we're getting pretty thin. Or yeah, you're right. Maybe Front of Castle too. We are still looking at that too. It's a little weird actually, because usually I've got someone who's dipped into it by now, like 17 and a half minutes in. But yeah,
Hazu is climbing Paradox again. Did she forget to scout?
She did not look at Island, no. And she still didn't look at it. Okay.
All right, well, it looks like she is cleaning up Eastern, so I think we're going to get a little bit of flip-flopping here. I think Hazu's going to clear what Sabo did. And, of course, Hazu now has the lamp, so it's going to be a much easier trip into Eastern for her.
Yeah, and Sabo just got his mirror, so he's going to be like, all right, time to go up the mountain.
Yeah, not even going to bother saving the old man. He's going to have to wait in his cave of darkness.
I guess maybe that's a decision of, I only have 3 hearts and it's in the dark without like a really good indicator, which again, we saw the bow is fine for it, but yeah, I mean, you got a flute. You can clean it up whenever you want, I guess.
Sabo finding out that Paradox is useless, as Hazu finds out the back of Sahasrara's closet is useless. So really, the question here is who's going to find the boots first, because boots gives us instant Dark World access. We already have lamp, so we're either a cape and a sword, or 2 swords from Aga access. We have a lot of knowledge,
Yeah,
a lot of items to convert that knowledge into actual progression.
yeah, like we're really waiting on the next piece of it to see what it ends up being and where that takes us subsequently. I'm really curious to see what our Dark World prizes are going to be, because until we get a Dark World check, like we're not even sure how worth those flippers are.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen 2 of our pendants already, so I don't think we can hope for much in the Dark World. But again, all we really need is pendant swamp, and then flippers are all of a sudden potentially an option, provided that there's not progression in Swamp Palace.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, logically, of course, the seed's going to say, hey, you better go kill Agon and get those flippers. But yeah, like I said, Pendant Swamp kind of takes that and says, maybe not so much.
All right, looks like we do have Quake on the floating island. I don't know if Hazu saw that or not.
No, so Hazard dropped straight into Spiral and then popped at the top of Paradox and looked like she was going to look at the island, but decided against it. So I'm pretty sure she doesn't know about that yet. And
Now,
of course, we'll have to discover whether that's even useful.
Sabo finally remembers he has a bee. Oddly enough, this is actually a good option to use it. I can't even be mad that he didn't use it in Mini Moldorm, because this is actually a solid use of the bee. I don't know that I've ever seen Spiral before.
Oh, Spiral's great for a bee. It cleans out, like I said, those Mini Moldorms are vicious. Just taking a hit right there, because what are you going to do? You can't avoid it.
Sabo's in the exact same position Hazu was. One hit from a Techite kills him. If he gets stuck under a dead rock, that could be bad news, but it looks like he made it.
Yeah. Thankfully, the Tektites don't usually put themselves in a position where you have to worry about it, as long as you're going to this entrance of Paradox. Also, yeah, the bees will totally fly through walls. They just do not care about them. They go where they want in areas like Spiral Cave.
So at this point, we're pretty much locked into Zora or Front of Escape. I imagine that if I were Sabo, I would probably do Front of Escape. Or really, if I was in Sabo or Hazu's position, I'd do Front of Escape.
Yeah, at this point, because like you've got Zora is like one item, and it's a bit of a trip to get there. Whereas you've got 4 items in Castle still, right? 'Cause we found the key. 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Math is hard.
Yeah, we have 3 items in the Front of Escape, and then we have 2 items on Secret Passage. The map is still halfway. 4 chests and a map.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this seems like a very natural play compared to making the trip to Zora.
So Hazu is doing something that you don't see very often. She is actually clearing the Eastern Palace Key Room using the intended strat. I actually like this. I think that's one of the important things as a runner, is to know what you can and you cannot do. And I think that is arguably like one of the best skills you can have in Link to the Past Randomizer, is you have to know your limits. You can't overextend yourself. You can't get overconfident in your ability. So the fact that, Hazu's like, you know what, I'm not comfortable doing this damage boost. I would feel much better just clearing it using the intended strat. I respect that. I respect that a lot.
Oh yeah, it's like you gotta look at it like whatever saves you, whatever's more consistently saving you time in the long run. Like that's what you should be doing. It's if you take a ton of damage because you're trying to do something really some trick, like some technique that just gets you killed in the process. Like, well, how much time did you save? Yeah.
Hazu also flexing some game knowledge, picking up some arrows here in the Eastern Palace lobby. Looks like Sabo is going straight to Dark Cross, not even bothering with Front of Escape, which when you have the mirror, I mean, tomato, but I think I would prefer to do the other chests, knowing that the map is still an escape.
I guess it's a matter of how long does it take to get to this one versus maybe you can bail out after the second chest in the rest of it, but who knows? Oh, we got a mushroom. Okay.
You could just go straight to the progression. Like, what are we talking about? Like, we clearly never played this game before.
Yeah, and now maybe we get lucky and the map is in the cell chest and he gets to bail out after the second one. We'll see.
Hazu having to use a hammer to take out these popos. Usually use a sword spin there, but when you don't have a sword, the game changes a lot. I like Sabo skipping that blue guard. Me being the NMG player I am, I cannot skip that blue card. My brain just will not let me. But saving a bit of time there, especially again without a sword, just not bothering with it.
Yep, that's that muscle memory. You just get used to killing that blue guard first thing as you walk in. But if you know you don't need that key, you don't need to kill that guy. Meanwhile, Hazukitty has taken down the Eastern Palace Armos Knights, and we'll be tying it up 1 to Crystal to 1.
Yeah, at this point, it's either going to be Zelda Cell or Zora, and we'll see which one Hazu picks. Oh, Hazu's got to clean up Agina, that's right.
I'm really hoping it's Zora at this point because, like, why not put it at that one isolated check? Oh, that's a heart piece. Guess where we're going?
Yeah, this has to be Zora at this point. Oh wait, no, Sabo got the mushroom.
We just get the mushroom. That's true. Yeah, don't forget that. Good old delayed progression.
The boots. Let's go.
There we are. That's Dark World.
That always feels good. And honestly, like, even as a watcher, like, even as a viewer, I just really enjoy the game with boots. I think that's the way the game is meant to be played. I think that, you know, one thing I really like about Randomizer is to watch people play well. And I think execution really shines when you have those boots. So yeah, even as a viewer, I'm always happy to see them in a
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, you look at Vanilla. You're supposed to have the boots after the first dungeon. You got an Easter, and you turn to that green pennant, get the boots, and you get to have them for almost the entire game. You're meant to go fast throughout this, and this pretty much almost the entire game.
Yeah. So also one interesting thing to note: that's a pretty deep moon pearl in the logic. I think we're on Sphere 4. I think you got Flute and Mirror in Sphere 1. You got Lamp behind those in Sphere 2. Then the Mushroom behind the Lamp. Boots behind the Mushroom. And then Pearl behind the Boots. That's a much deeper Moon Pearl than I'm used to seeing.
Yeah, because without Fire Rod, we did have to get the Lamp to actually put Dark Cross in logic. Yeah, that checks out.
Unless Zora has something that but even Zora would still be Sphere 2. And the only thing Zora could have that would help would be Fire Rod, but that would be in the same sphere as Lamp. So,
yeah.
Bombos in Hype Cave. And nothing else.
Well, we've got a mystery medallion in there. Who knows if that's useful? We'll have to wait and see for later. And then Hazu's going to make her way into Dark Cross and be getting that mushroom. Hopefully she jumps right on it.
I wonder if Sabo is doing Pyramid Cap. Okay, he just did a map check. So I saw Pendant Pod, 5-6 Thieves. And I think that's everything else is a blue crystal. So I don't know how he feels about Pod right now. He may have just been going there assuming Pod would be a crystal. But I don't know if he's going to stick to that or if he's going to take a chance maybe on Catfish instead.
I mean, I'm in agreement with GFE here. It's Pendant Pod, guaranteed progression. And yeah, that
Chad
does
also
put
called him out. Aga.
Yeah. Yeah, we are 100% going to need those flippers for doing anything in Swamp Palace later on.
Yeah, this is a bold call from Sabo, just immediately going to Pendant Pod, because you do have a full clearable Thieves Town. You have, of course, the entire village of Outcasts. I don't know that this isn't bold enough that I would call it a gamble. But it's maybe slightly anti-meta because generally you want to focus on the crystal dungeons you can clear, right? So we'll see how this pays off though.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting play. I know for sure I'd go with the typical, just go right to Village of Outcast here. But yeah, I mean, Pendant Pod, there's a good chance you find something over here, and you've got a bow, you've got a hammer, you've got mirror. Like you got your ideal routing situation going on here. Just the only thing you're really lacking is lamp to make the dark rooms easier.
No, Sabo has a lamp. We needed it for the mushroom.
Oh, it's not on the tracker. Okay, throw myself off. Duh, of course we have the lamp.
If I'm in Sabo's position here, if I could place any piece of progression I wanted in Pod, I would want it to be either maybe the Ice Rod or the Meyer Medallion. Because those are things that, aside from the dungeons they unlock, they do nothing for you, right? Fire Rod has logical implications in Turtle Rock, possibly Ice Palace, well, not with the Bombos, but, the only thing the Misery Mire Medallion would do would be open Misery Mire. The only thing the Ice Rod does is allow you to kill Trinex. So burying those deep in a Pendant Dungeon, like that for me, if I'm diving a Pendant Dungeon, that's what I want to see.
Yeah, you want to find those things that can be pretty much anywhere because they don't have much for logical implications, yeah.
Something like a hook shot, you might get bottlenecked pretty quickly into that one anyways.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, it looks like Hazu might be doing the same thing.
Yeah, very interesting seeing both of them make this play, yeah.
Hazu was getting an item dash started there, but you cannot do an item dash without the sword. You will bonk instead.
Correct. If I show bonk up those pegs and be like, well, still don't have a sword.
And Hazu is now getting the news that Pod is a pendant.
He is indeed a red crystal thief. So our reds are thieves and what's the other one? Eastern Palace. That's right. Okay. So that could be a potentially really early Pyramid Fairy.
Hazu better be careful. She is now on 1 heart. She has not passed all the enemies on this screen. Getting out the boomerang, though, I think she's going to play it super safe here. Neither runner doing a Kiki dash. So a Kiki dash, if you dash up to Pod, if you actually juke, go down and then up right before that cutscene starts, Kiki will snap right on top of the player. So rather than having to, watch Kiki walk from 3 tiles behind, the cutscene finishes much sooner because Kiki has to walk a shorter distance. But it looks like neither runner did that. So Kiki got quite the bit of exercise today.
Yeah, it's one of those things you definitely want to dash into it, because if you dash straight into it without stopping, you actually leave Kiki quite a bit behind. I believe that's actually the longest that Kiki has to travel to get up on top.
Yeah.
Very similar to dashing into the GT opening cutscene. Dashing into that turns out generates a lot of lag frames. You don't want to do it.
Yeah, as long as you cancel the dash, you're all right. You don't want to shield out. You don't want to sword out. There's nothing you can do about the shield. But by canceling the dash, you get the sword off the screen. Sabo finding the first bit of progression, which is unfortunately it's unfortunately powder, which is not exactly what you want to see here. Maybe it will pay off, but that's not the hard progression you want to find in this dungeon.
I was getting called out by Chad also for picking up literally every key in the dungeon.
Yeah, the way Pod is, once you find 2 non-small keys in the first 6 chests, you can skip everything else because they're keys. And he is going to kill Helmasaur because Helmasaur does have an item. We have found both the map and the compass.
Yep. And if you're digging for stuff, I mean, might as well clear it out. I mean, I can see someone gambling here, but you got 1 item, and it's a bit of a time sink to get to it. That's on a boss that is it's a bit tricky with only hammer here, but yeah, I like it. I like being thorough in dungeons.
Yeah, the problem is that if you leave an item here, you are never coming back. Like, he's already cleared Eastern. there's literally no other reason to ever be in this area. Like, the only chance you would have of routing this in is maybe after a pyramid fairy. But if you still have catfish on the board, you'd probably rather go to catfish than, go kill Pendant Helmasaur. So
Well, this would be
I think Sabo's playing it super safe here.
It'd be a really hard orphan for sure to do this. Yeah.
And also, the only thing he's gotten out of this dungeon is powder. So it's really hard. If you got a fire rod or if you got a cane of Samaria, it would be easier to say, okay, I've probably gotten the progression out of pod. I'm going to leave now. But when the only thing you have to show for the strip is powder, you probably want to commit maybe a little bit more in hopes of pulling something nice out of the dungeon.
What'll be interesting here is if Pendant Pod turns up nothing, I wonder if that's going to put both these runners in an interesting mindset of, oh man, I just wasted a ton of time. Do I have to start gambling on things as they go forward? It's going to be really interesting to see how that affects their play, depending on, again, whether we come up with one final item here. Now, the green Pendant,
especially Sabo being, Sphere Affinity not having any points in the league so far, Sabo might feel a lot of weight on his shoulders to get some points on the board. So I would not be surprised if Mentality plays into this match.
Here we go. We have a swordless Helmasaur, 17 hammer hits to the mask to break it, and then we've got a bow, which will be probably the most convenient way to deal 8 hits to the forehead gem to take out this big, ugly beast.
Yeah, at this point, it's really unfortunate not to have a sword. There was some tech that was discovered very recently that if you arm a spin speed in this room, it actually it extends the hammer's hitbox. It makes it easier to get a hammer kill on Helmasaur. So to have the boots, but not to have the sword, it'd be a little bittersweet for me to be doing this boss fight. But Sabo doesn't have a problem with it. And only bombs, so that's unless powder is amazing, that feels rough.
Yeah, it depends on whether Magic Bat has anything. This could end up being like a pretty big waste of time. Or Pedestal. I mean, maybe we get lucky and there's a ped item and you got 1 out of 3 for that. So who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
And Sabo is dashing out, so this is probably going to be a catfish play.
It looks like Hazu actually did bail out a pod.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an option. It's probably the option I would have done, honestly. Not to say that going to Helmasaur is bad. It's just it takes so long for one item,
Yeah, it's definitely a random decision. You're playing it as how thorough do you want to be and not risk missing something crucial back there. And Magic Bat's going to give us just a heart piece, so pod was a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, and that's time that Sabo lost to Hazu because Hazu got to skip Helma. But again, though, that's the problem with rushing Pendant Pod. If you do Village of Outcasts and you find nothing in Village of Outcasts, right, and then you find yourself in Pendant Pod, all of a sudden Helmasaur makes more sense because, Helmasaur is one of 4 checks you have left. So there's a 25% of progression, right? Whereas if you go to Pod immediately, it's like, do I want to do Helmasaur? Or do I want to do the entirety of Village of Outcasts, Crystal Thieves Town, I can dive Skullwoods. At that point, Helmasaur looks very, very not appealing.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's one of the dangers of rushing Helmasaur. Or rushing Pod, rather.
Yeah, I guess with having cleared Eastern earlier, though, you got to think like, well, Pod's never going to get any more convenient to do, really. I mean, only by the items you find, making it easier to kill things within the dungeon or to navigate it. But again, with having like hammer, mirror, and a bow already, like you think I can just full clear this dungeon. So yeah.
Sabo finding a heart piece on the Zor ledge, and he is having to take the long way through these rapids because he does not have flippers.
And Chess Game coughs up another heart piece for us. So we're going to see what our big scamfish has for us today.
So Zora area. So if I'm Sabo, I probably feel pretty bad right now.
Yeah.
Because you just sunk. I mean, keep in mind, we know that Hazu also dove Pod. Sabo doesn't know that. Sabo knows, like, wait a minute, I have the Village of Outcasts. There's a clearable crystal. Of course I should have been doing that. Why wouldn't I? Because, 2020 hindsight when you're playing Rando, it's easy to say that now. But, yeah, Sabo didn't find anything. Not only did he do Pod, he walked out of Pod, went to a useless catfish, went to a useless Zora area, left checks in the Zora area at that. If I'm Sabo mentally, I'm probably feeling pretty bad about that decision.
Oh, absolutely. Like you've spent a large chunk of time with no progression gains whatsoever here, especially when you find out that this is going to be a heart piece. Like, yeah, this there's definitely going to be some mentality change. I feel like here. But with at least we got Crystal Thieves to do, so there's no reason not to full clear this dungeon, especially with Hammer. It gives us a very solid objective to work towards right here.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess that Hazu has found a lot of health in the front of Thieves Town. I wasn't watching very closely, but just looking, Hazu has a ton of health that Sabo does not have, and I have no clue where she could have picked this up.
I'm not sure either. It's not like these two have really done much for different checks.
Yeah, so it does look like Hazukitty is going to the back of Thieves Town. I wonder how she feels about her hammer blind. Often a sticking point of people playing, or I would say often a barrier to people playing inverted. You know, people are scared to do, low percent hammer blind. Hazu does have a lot of health, but still, the longer that fight goes, it tends to compound in difficulty. The longer it goes, the harder it gets. So we'll see how Hazu does if she doesn't find a sword before blind.
Yeah, this will be a really interesting test.
Yeah, Sabu finding a heart piece in chess games, so that's probably one of the heart pieces that Hazu has found. It's interesting. Yeah, like if you don't feel comfortable with Hammer Blind, it wouldn't be a terrible option to just go straight to Hype Cave. But again, that goes back to what I was talking earlier about Hazu doing the vanilla strats for the Eastern Palace Big Key, or the intended strats rather. Part of playing randos, you have to know what you can do and you have to know what you can't do. So if you don't feel 100% comfortable with Hammer Blind, maybe that's the decision for you, is that you skip it and you go to Hype Cave.
Yep, there's one of those hearts we were talking about. Full heart in the first check here. Hazu's had a little bit of a tangle with the bugs, and the Thieves Town Addict opted to take some pots and throw at a couple of them just to let her safely get at that chest. Those bugs on Greenmail, they hurt a lot.
Yeah, luckily though, we do have powder and half magic, so she should be just fine. There's an anti-fairy in this room. There's a bunny beam right before blind, right before the maiden. So Hazu should be just fine.
Yeah, having powder so early, we didn't get progression of pod, but having powder it's one of the best safety items of the game, because any dungeon that has anti-fairies, either just free healing.
So one thing that's worth noting, though, Sabo is making up quite a bit of time, because you have to think Sabo has done Helmasaur. Sabo's also done Catfish, Zora, checked the Zora Ledge, and done Zora. But he's currently in the same dungeon as Hazu, so although he's done more checks, I do feel like Sabo's slightly gaining time on Hazu.
Yeah, I feel like he's just kind of gone into I need to go. He feels behind. He knows he needs to just execute and just go really hard and get to the next progression as soon as possible. And I feel like that's showing.
All right, let's see how Hammer Blind goes for Hazukitty. This is not an easy fight. No matter how much health you have, this fight can get away from you. This head does 2 hearts of damage. The fireballs do 1 heart of damage. I don't know if the laser has a special damage class. I probably should know this, but I don't.
Yeah, I'd have to look up the damage class guide to know if it does. Ooh, that's 1 heart left. And she did not get that red from the catfish. That's actually the advantage that Sabo has here. If it gets down to a dicey fight, Sabo does have that red potion in the pocket.
Oh, and there's the death. No shame in that. That fight is a tough fight, no matter how much health you have. I wonder though, given the pause to the bottles, I wonder if maybe she thought she had a potion that she didn't, and that's why she committed to the fight. It does look like she might be actually going back. I don't know if I agree with this, because me personally, right? Dying once, I'm tilted. Going back immediately and dying again, I am like literally beside myself with anger. Uh, it might actually be just for your own mentality and for your own sanity's sake. It might be a better idea just to put this off for later. Maybe come back with a master sword and sword beams. You know?
Yeah, and especially considering like re-entering this room now, like you can't even. It is hammer, sure. You're really not. There's really not much for scripting, but you still have nothing to count on here. Like it's a completely different fight in terms of the RNG, and it's just liable to be even more chaotic than the first attempt.
Yeah, see how Sabos goes. Sabo is, I'm using air quotes, on script. Different people have different ways of tackling this fight, but Sabo seems to be pretty methodical with the way he's.
She did it.
Oh my gosh, Hazu!
She was on one heart for the entire last phase. She just did like Zen mode dodges and just made it happen. Whew, that was impressive.
Yeah, that was actually amazing. I don't know that I could have done.
So I mean, I definitely would not have gone back in there with this equipment. I put that off for later, especially if I know there's no more items in dungeons. So that was fantastic. We got simultaneous.
That was an excellent
pickups. We are both at 2.
Yeah, so here again, like execution, I think is kind of coming into play here because again, Sabo has Helmasaur, Catfish, and the Zora area over Hazukitty right now, but they're basically synced. You know, for Rando, they're synced. You know, for NMG, you know, maybe not, but for Rando, like this is pretty close to being even.
Yeah, and they both started Hype Cave. Yeah, they both have Bombos. They both started Hype Caves. There's no difference there.
So I think Sabo's being a little conservative here, and I say little conservative, like I don't mean that to mean too conservative, but I think Sabo's taking the conservative approach. If you're doing Skull Woods, typically you do Skull Woods and then you go into the Village of Outcasts because it routes a little cleaner on your way to Hype Cave. I think what Sabo's going to do here, though, is he did Village of Outcasts first. He's now doing Skull Woods. He's then going to scout Bumper Ledge and Graveyard Ledge, and then flute back to the Village of Outcasts to pick up where he left off. So,
yep.
Yeah, Sabo's definitely taking the conservative approach here.
That North Dark World route, yeah. Oh, and Hazu finds our first sword at the dig game after it looks like nearly 30 digs.
Yeah, 45-minute first sword. That number 1, wow. Number 2, I bet that feels super great after dying to blind.
Is this cross keys with how long it took us to find a sword?
Sabo's not getting very good positioning here. Okay, there we go. The Gibdo is giving him trouble. That was good on him to move out of the way as it was coming back to life.
Yeah. Nice thing about a boomerang, while the hook shot does not work on Gibdos, the boomerang sure does.
Okay, Sabo's death warping. I was like, man, oh wow, another sword. So
Hazu has very quickly gone from 0 to 2 on swords.
Yeah, we're technically in go mode, as you know, just according to swords. So yeah, that's the only sword you need to beat the game with. So
that second sword and having boots in hand, at this point we can go acquire those flippers whenever we want, and Hazu might be making that option.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to do this. My only comment to Hazu, I don't think she's actually scouted Pyramid Ledge. Also, I don't think she did Hype Cave, did she?
No, they both have Bombos. So they started Hype Cave.
Oh yeah, you're right. They started at Hype Cave. Yeah, so my only comment to Hazu would be I don't think she's scouted Pyramid Ledge, so this might have been a nice opportunity to get that. Oh wow, Hazu hasn't done Front of Escape yet.
No, she hasn't. Yeah, she got the mushroom and immediately out to do that check. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of puts Sabo's position relative to Hazukitty in progress. Oh, I think Sabo may have accidentally used a potion there. I think he was trying to quick swap to the mirror and.
Yeah, I heard that.
But yeah, this definitely puts Sabo's position relative to Hazukitty. It puts it in a better perspective because again, Sabo's done all this, but he's basically even in terms of checks with Hazu.
And he is not scouting Bumper Ledge. Interesting, going straight for Bonk Rocks.
It's not a bad call, but if he finds Cape, that's definitely going to be burning a hole in the back of his mind. You know, what's on Bumper Ledge. Especially if you're looking for Ice Rod and you're in Turtle Rock and you find the cape, and you're in ice rod from go mode.
Yeah, 'cause you're never going to go look at that unless you find the cape, pretty much, because you've already looked at lumberjacks. You can't really do a combination information grab there. Yeah, it's going to be sitting there.
Also, I forgot that with the mirror in the boot, Sabo can actually check King's Tomb. And me personally, King's Tomb, when I have boots and mirror, that's like one of my favorite locations to just beeline it to. I don't care how many times it doesn't have progression. It's one of my favorite locations to check is King's Tomb without the mitts. So yeah, that I kind of see this play in a different light. I think it's a good call.
Yeah, when you can access all these checks up in the north part of the world, like, knock them out, absolutely. Like, this is a solid route. Go right from Skullwoods, just take care of all these. And
also, am I crazy, or pretty much the only progression we've found since the powder is the Master Sword?
Yeah, so far.
It's the only thing we found in the entire
we got an ether medallion out of Skull Woods, but obviously that's not doing anything for us just yet.
You're right about the ether medallion. Man, this is for how fast the seed came, like for how fast the seed started. This is not very fast once you get to the Dark World.
2 swords so far to answer Drossi in chat. We got 1 at the dig game, and a second one was at K45.
I imagine Sabo is going Stumpy to dig game here. Or at least I hope he does, or he's going to be, missing swords.
Going even longer swordless. Yeah, it looks like he's making that direction here. And Hazu is on her way up the Aga Tower.
Also, one thing, if you were going Aga, both runners have access to Pyramid Fairy at this point, right?
Yeah, with our crystals from Thieves, yeah.
Yeah, just for being thorough, like, yeah, I absolutely would have taken that opportunity if I was Hazu. Go ahead, go into the Dark World, get the Pyramid Fairy, and route that and your Pyramid check in with Aga. Of course, if you wait until after Aga to do the Pyramid Fairy, you are able to do some shenanigans with the mirror. You can just go straight to the castle, and it is quicker. But just in terms of, getting things without having to backtrack, I think I might have done Pyramid Fairy on my way to Aga rather than waiting until after.
Yeah, in terms of just like putting as many checks together as possible to make your time consumption most efficient. Yeah. She's opting to use the bomb here on these red guards. They take a ton of Master Sword hits. I don't blame her.
The weird thing about this, once we get flippers, we really don't have access to a whole lot more. We have the Waterfall Cave, Hobo, and Hookless Swamp. Those aren't great options.
I mean, Hookless Swamp, I mean, it sucks, but it's like, it's half the dungeon. There's a decent chance they come up with something there.
Yeah, but I'm kind of looking at this from Hazu's perspective, right? So if I'm Hazukitty, I probably get my flippers, maybe do Pyramid Fairy to Catfish Mirror and do the Zora area. I don't really know how you go about Hobo. You just have to make a trip to that alone. Sabo getting stuck in the race game. I've actually never seen anybody try to mirror in the dig game.
Yeah, a race or a mirror attempt spot there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen anyone actually try that. I'm pretty sure Sabo's going to beeline to those flippers, yeah. So if I'm Hazu, I'm probably doing Pyramid Fairy, Pyramid Ledge, Catfish, Zora area. If I'm Sabo, Hookless Swamp, maybe. I wouldn't do Hookless Swamp before I do the Pyramid Fairy. But yeah, if there's progression in Swamp, I see Sabo getting there before I see Hazu getting there. If there's progression in Waterfall Cave, I see Hazu getting there maybe before Sabo does.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see. We got Hazukitty at the top of AT, going to take on the Wizard, and sab0tender is just starting his climb. Yes, they've both already been to Paradox Cave. And just to confirm, the main reason we are interested in killing Aghanim is because we have our flippers on Lumberjack today.
And Swamp is a crystal, so those are hard required. And technically, since Ice is a crystal, they're
logically required. Logic.
Yeah, to me that's like one of the more interesting philosophies. Like there are two different philosophies. Some people like glitches because they like bending the logic, right? They like trying to complete the game within the rules, but with the fewest items possible. Other people, are I don't know if this is an offensive term, but a little bit more purist, meaning that no, if the game requires the item, then you should be required to find the item. Um, so yeah, like situations like Ice Palace, that's always one of the more interesting ones because if you get flippers, or if Ice Palace is a pendant, or if Swamp Palace is a pendant and Ice Palace is a crystal, you can actually clear the dungeon without actually needing the flippers, which is just one of the interesting applications of glitches in the game.
I was taking down her agony. I'm going to take care now. Finally, take a look at the pyramid ledge. See, that's just a heart piece, and we'll have to wait and see what she jumps on first here.
I love the spin speed that she carried like all the way down the pyramid.
Yeah, she might be cleaning her catfish here.
This is I don't know that I would do this before I had the flippers.
No, definitely not. This seems actually
with
real.
With the flute, it's not that bad to get back to Waterfall Cave, but just I don't know. This feels a little disconnected for me. I think it's going to work out because we know that there's not progression on Catfish and there's not progression on Zora. But if you were to find progression in those locations, I think you would be highly incentivized to maybe skip Waterfall and put it off for later. And if you do that, it's very questionable. When is Waterfall ever going to be a good choice for you to come back to?
Yeah, when you take a check out, even one check out of this kind of grouping up here, it's just it gets harder to want to go back to it. You do get that red potion for your trouble, but you can't go straight to Waterfall from here, so.
Now we can add that to Hazu's list of things I wish I had when I did Hammer Blind the first time.
Right.
So I'm interested to see how Hazu decides to two things. Number one, when do we pick up? I imagine she's going to pick up flippers right after this. And again, like even with this check, like this check would be so much faster with the flippers. But number one, so I imagine Hazu's going to get flippers next when she does Pyramid Fairy and when she comes back to Waterfall, if she does either one of them. And really, same question for Sabo. He may just rush straight into Hookless Swamp. Who knows?
Yeah, we're still. I mean, from an outside perspective here, it still looks fairly streamlined here. Like, there's not like a lot left to do. We've already done as much as we can in Skullwoods. Thieves Town's clean. You're gonna pick up flippers, and like the flippers are gonna say, "Hey, you can go into Swamp Palace now." We're lacking a glove for ice, of course. We don't have really any more access to the mountain. It's like kind of what else is there?
Okay, I actually do like this routing from Hazu, right? So she hasn't done North Dark World yet. So Graveyard Ledge, King's Tomb, Bonk Rocks, Bumper Ledge, all of that is still open to Hazu. So she's going to route that in with her flippers, which is actually really nice. And also she's going to get Bumper Ledge information, which Sabo does not have.
Yeah, no, it's a really nice kind of get everything all at once route. Yeah.
And she's going to dive Skull Woods. So this actually is a nice route. Yeah, I like this decision from Hazu. I don't know that I still agree with the Zora Catfish check right after doing Aga without the flippers. But this is a really nice route for her. It looks like Sabo is immediately going back to Waterfall Cave, so I like this. I like cleaning your loose ends sooner rather than later.
Oh, then I like this from a commentary perspective because we're going to get some information.
Oh baby, and boy, oh wow, that was a cave. So now we have tons of stuff. We can full clear Swamp. Not only can we full clear Swamp, we can full clear Skull. Although I don't know if both items were found or if it was just Ether.
I think it was just the Ether. I think it's one item in Skull. Man, that is imagine if we did get a fake flipper like it'd be a little weird to do fake flipper kind of as late as it was, but like that could have had some real value to it for giving like the fire rod in particular. Like you can one dip Skull Woods at that point.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing you would have really gotten out, because the hook shot actually doesn't do anything for us other than swamp, which you would have needed the flippers to do anyways. But man, that is a crazy useful waterfall cave.
Yeah, seriously, like one of the best values you could possibly see out of that. Hookshot and fire rod. Hookshot's one of the best utility items in the game, and fire rod is needed logically for several rooms of the game. So that's both fantastic finds.
Yeah, this seed is oh wow, Hazu's playing it very safe here because she one hit from
One heart.
arms. Sabo is going straight to swamp. Which, I mean, why not? It's a crystal that you can clear. Get it out.
And now you've got hook shot, so that entire dungeon is easily available. You can just rampage through it.
Yeah. Also, I'm not 100% sure how Sabo is on Diver Down. I think some of the newer glitches, I don't know that he's really put time in to practice them yet. So for him, I don't think the fact that which I mean, Diver Down does have a bomb set up, but I don't think he's really concerned for like Diver Down or Icebreaker gear, which to me I think might actually work in his advantage, right? Because there's a lot of people that will put off ice without a cane, but for Sabo, he doesn't necessarily have to worry about that. Which is an odd way of saying, you know, hey, I don't practice tech, so that gives me an advantage. But in this case, I think it might actually be working into his favor.
Yeah, because not knowing certain techniques can, like I say, occasionally work in your favor because you're not considering them as whether you're going to go into a certain dungeon. So, like, yeah, a lot of people, like I say, you put off ice because you want to be really convenient with Icebreaker. It's a fantastic trick. It saves a ton of time, but sometimes you just got to Ice Palace Bomb Jump. Keep that classic trick in your pocket because sometimes, maybe some areas in the big chest or something in ice. Yeah.
And just some notable things about the logic. Like, by my count, we have a Sphere 5 Moon Pearl. We have a Sphere 6 Sword and Master Sword. And then, like, the most recent chain, like, with a Fire Rod and Hookshot, I think we're in Sphere 8 right now. So this is a linear seed. Logically, it's very deep. Most of the seeds I play these days are relatively flat. Like you find, early mitts, early hammer, basically early Dark World access, and everything's locked behind your Dark World access, and maybe one or two more items. But this seed appears to be very linear in terms of where your progression is, which tends to favor those who have maybe stronger execution. Because you're just able to connect those dots faster than someone else. If the seed is very flat logically, you run the risk of getting lucky. I wouldn't say run the risk of getting lucky, but your opponent getting lucky rather. So it's been a very interesting seed to watch and see where these items are.
Yeah, it's really interesting kind of progression. Like it's a lot more threaded. You didn't come out of Kakariko with like half a dozen progression items and all the options once you hit Dark World. It's still been, like I said, very limited. And yeah, it's different. It feels atypical because usually you come out at like a Kakariko with more options. It's a different style. I don't mind it. It's a different race to watch, and it's honestly kind of refreshing.
Yeah, it really is. Also, Hazu picking up health in the graveyard. Ooh, this is a dangerous portal. So if I think it might still be okay, but you have to be careful because if you set that portal to where you go into it as soon as you exit Kingston, in the Dark World there's some bonk rocks there. So if you set your portal on top of those bonk rocks, you can get stuck in an endless mirror bonk. This might actually be a mirror bonk.
I think she's on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's okay. Yeah, she's good. It doesn't like she. Oh yeah, this is the last check for her, anyways. And I think she's cleaning up Waterfall.
Yeah, if you want to be
yes,
safe with that mirror, you just drop it on the right side of the block, and there's no chance you'll bonk yourself with it. Yeah.
So Sabo not wasting any time going to left side swamp, which I agree with. You've already found a map. It can be a little annoying if you find big key in the back of the dungeon, but that's either way you're running a risk. Oh wow, Mitts
And
on
it
left side
pays
swamp.
off
That's
hard.
So that puts Mitts in sphere 9.
Keeps getting taller.
And we're still what, 2 items, potentially 3 items, depending on what the medallion is for both Turtle Rock and Meyer.
Yeah, we still haven't seen any whisper of Samaria yet.
I have to imagine we're getting close. Like, this game doesn't have too many locations left to hide stuff. I will say though that this is kind of an annoying place to find Mitts. You don't really want to commit to the mountain without the ice rod, because if you can dive Turtle Rock and you have access to it, you want to do that. Which without the cane we can't do that. You also have the Smith chain, and Smith chain, if that ends up having ice rod or a required quake, that can be really annoying too. It's kind of an annoying place to find Mitts there. And then also you have Ice Palace. So some people love it, some people hate it. But if you go mode Ice Palace is way different than full clear of Ice Palace. Oh, well, there's our Ice Rod.
Ice Rod, yeah. And I think Ice is definitely one of the best dungeons to be able to completely go mode, because it's such a shorter route compared to, I have to zip all over this dungeon to find all 8 of the chests. Yeah, it's you want to go mode that one, absolutely. Same with Meyer, because you've got like all this stuff that's scattered around this big central room, and you got to go back and forth and back and forth. Like, Meyer's another fantastic dungeon to put off until you can go mode.
Yeah, now you have the interesting choice. Do you prioritize clearing crystal dungeons? Do you prioritize knowledge? Because it would be really nice to know if Quake is needed, right? But to get that knowledge, you have to go to both the Meyer and the Turtle Rock area without the Cane of Samaria. Turtle Rock, I would probably pick the mountain over Meyer area, because if you can dive Meyer, you almost want to dive Meyer, because Caneless Meyer is not a bad dive. But that also puts you in the vicinity of Pendant Desert, and you don't want to do that either. Sabo getting a little low on health here.
Getting bullied by the rope there, yeah.
He's still on green mail. I think one of these puffs can kill him.
I believe so, yeah. I think those puffs deal like at least 2 hearts of damage on green. Yeah, this is definitely a tense moment. Look, he's going to be okay.
Just don't get above Argus. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that was close. Good, like, last minute release of the spin.
Sabo is scaring me to death. Oh my gosh.
That was like last frame bursting yourself out of a fatal combo.
You never really, Argus is one of those fights. You never really expect to see a clutch Argus fight,
Well, you pulled it out though.
Hazu taking a death. I didn't quite see where she was.
She was a health resetting in the opening room as well. Yeah, she went in with like 1 or 2 hearts. She got bullied by the rope outside, so she was just, yeah, might as well just reset health here.
All right, so it looks like Sabo is just going straight to ice. Not a bad call. Again, you have to clear the crystal dungeons anyways. Of course, Ice Palace is longer to full clear than it is to go mode, but at the same time, you have to kill the boss anyways. So you might as well do the things that you have to do.
Yeah. I feel like there's
one way of looking. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like there's a decent argument here also for, you just got the flute, or you got the mitts, you have access to the Meyer area, you can at least go peek at the medallion requirement, and also check out Meyer Shed and those easy to grab checks. You got like Meyer Shed and a checkerboard. It does let you get that knowledge pretty quick, and that could help influence how much you need to go mode for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and it's kind of an interesting discussion to talk about, like, what really is the gamble, right? So let's say you find Cane of Samaria in this chest. Is the gamble to assume you don't need Quake, or is the gamble to check everything in case you need Quake? Because when you think about it, there's a 66% chance you're in go mode. So if you really start putting money on the 33%, in my mind, that's almost the bigger gamble, is to play conservative rather than just assume you're in go mode.
TR is kind of like, well, that dungeon takes so much more time to go up and actually look at it. But Myra's pretty quick, and you've got a lot of easy, like really quick item checks that come along with it. You don't have to dip it immediately, but at least getting that knowledge is a lot quicker.
Yeah, if I could do one thing different if I was Sabo, I might have cleared Skull Woods before coming here, because if Moth has the cane or a cane is anywhere in Skull Woods, even if you don't know Diver Down, you know that I'm probably go moding Ice Palace at that point, you know.
Yeah, at the very least, even without Diver Den or Icebreaker, like at the very least, that still gives you another option to subvert Ice Palace. Being that get to the bottom, if you have some area, you know you can at least put the block on the switch without having to do a lot of extra work.
Oh, chat bringing up a wonderful point. We know where Quake is. Quake is on Floating Island.
Oh, that's right. We saw that so long ago. I completely forgot. Good call.
That was 8 spheres ago.
Up there, yeah, we can with mitts now. We can get that. Like that's accessible. So good call. Good call.
We're literally a cane from go mode then.
Yeah.
And at this point, I have to feel like Sabo has the advantage. Certainly has more checks. You know, granted, the checks that Hazu has left, I don't think she's ever going back to. I don't think she's ever going back to Pendant Helmasaur. But this is the moment. You know, if I'm the person who likes to rely on my execution, this is where I start getting nervous, because what if my opponent randomly decides to do Smiths? What if my opponent randomly decides to do the Mountain, and that's where Kane is? You know, there's a number of things that can go wrong here. So we'll see.
There's still a lot of potential to get randoed. Like your opponent makes the correct decision, and you're putting off because you're just focused, like you're beelining your crystal dungeons, doing what you think you should do, and that's rando for you sometimes.
Yeah, I appreciate this classic routing. A lot of times with Icebreaker, like you don't get to see a whole lot of the, especially if you practice the NMG speedrun, you don't get to see a lot of the iconic speedrun rooms when you do Icebreaker, which of course that's not an option for Sabo because he doesn't have the cane. But still, it's nice to see this old school trip through Ice Palace.
Picture the H room here. Like this room is so neat when it's done really fluidly, because you just you lift the block, you run across here, you throw a pot it got hit by the bunny beam, so now it's all ruined. But you throw a pot the Stalfos Knight, you grab the tongue, you dash across, you hit the chest. It just feels really good to execute in this direction.
Yeah, Hazu taking a death warp on left side swamp. I don't know if that was intentional or if she just took so much damage. She just opted to do the death warp.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine that was another health reset.
Yeah, because it's that strat is definitely, well, number one, if you have the mirror, just use the mirror. Exactly. But even the mirror is suboptimal to just dashing back. Also, I did not count items for Sabo. I don't know if he found the big key, if there's even an item left in Swamp. Actually, I'm not sure one way or the other there.
Yeah, I'm not sure on Swamp either, actually. I wasn't. I think if anything, there's one left, but it might have been a locked big key. Maybe I want to say. I know we found 2 items in the flooded room.
Sabo not quite able to get out of the way of that fire bar there. I guess we'll see on Hazu's screen whether or not they found the big key. That is at least 2 items for Sabo. I don't know if that's a 3rd item.
I think it's 2. I think the last one at this point is lurking either on Cold Stair or in the big chest.
Nice hookshot strats from Sabo.
Maybe it is 3. Actually, he's got 0 keys. We might actually have 3 items here. Yeah, I think that checks out, because I think he's opened every key door except the bottom one. All right, so we're going to have simultaneous boss fights. On Hazukitty's side, we've got Argus. And on sab0tender side here, we are going to start off fighting the Cold Stair.
Yeah, I really like the use of bombers here, especially 5 hearts. 1 hit from Cold will kill him.
Yeah, if you have the option of saving some magic power to just like take a very safe fight here, do it. Absolutely.
And he's down. You can
That's
never
the
sleep on Cold Stare. Like there's never a, unless you're like, you know, Red Mail Butter Sword. Like you really can't sleep on Cold Stare because that he does so much damage. It sneaks up on you so quickly.
Oh yeah, and those puffs, like you can try to keep them away with repeated sword hits, but like they'll come at you. Like they move surprisingly fast, and like you can get converged on, especially when they're coming at you from different angles.
Hazu got really brave with that last spin attack on
Yeah,
Arcturus.
that was like right on top of him. Yeah.
Yeah, Hazu has had a couple of clutch boss fights where you're on, you know, low percentage, and but she pulls it out, which is really nice. I think Sabo is cleaning up Pyramid Fairy now.
I would guess that's the case. There's not much else in the area here.
Now I'm really wondering if maybe we found 2 items in Skull, because I would, before doing some of this, so I can see, you know, rushing ice, but before doing some of the overworld stuff, I would go ahead and clean up the crystal we have left. Although it's not like this is a super long check. Sabo, you have
No,
mirror.
I mean,
Where you going, man? Sabo, you have the mirror, dude. You have the mirror and you've killed Aga.
Let's see if it looks like Hazu remembers. She's quick swapping in the mirror. Yep.
Welp.
I guess one of those things that's easy to forget because you don't usually end up in the situation where you've killed Aga and you're dragging the big bomb, but yeah, still.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too, just how linear this seed has been. Granted, you do have a lot of options after the mitts, but to see both of the runners end up in the same position time and time again, it's really cool. Oh, Tempered Sword, that's really nice.
Hello, Sword. We will not say no to that.
Yeah, that's really good for Hazu to get now because that's going to make her Ice Palace quicker than Sabo's. Well, I don't know, unless she uses Fire Rod strats too, but
Yeah.
okay, I think Sabo is finally cleaning up Skullwoods.
Yeah, it's like a Skullwoods play here. I'm fairly sure we only got 1 item out of here, but I guess we'll find out shortly.
I think Hazu is picking up some safeties. Which again, like, let this be an encouragement. Like, for one thing I love about the league, it started off as something that was super casual, and then kind of evolved into something that's a little bit more serious and a little bit more competitive. Hence the Invitational League. But I don't know, like the fact that you're on a team of 3 people, like you don't have to be the best rando player in the world to be here. Like you can still you can use safe strats. You can use, you know, if you're not comfortable making a play, like you don't have to learn the hardest strats. You don't have to learn all the glitches. You know, Sabo hasn't learned Icebreaker yet. You know, Hazukitty using a lot more safer strats in some of these dungeons. But the fact that you're on a team of 3 people, you know, you can kind of do what you do well and then rely on your other teammates to kind of shore up the disadvantages that you may have as a competitive player. So I really like the fact that, you know, both of these runners are kind of contrasting each other in that scenario. Sabo may be a little bit aggressive with some of his strategies. Hazu playing it a lot safer. Oh man, Sabo getting wall mastered there.
Yeah, I mean I hate that mini molder in particular, that one on the top right, because it seems like more often than not, what it does randomly will just like put it right in the way, and you got to deal with it, and that gives you time to get caught by the Gibdo and or the Wallmaster.
Yeah, shoutouts to Have Magic in this room. But yeah, I just really like that. You know, you don't have to be the best player to be part of to even be competitive in League. And of course, Hazu has done an excellent job here. Clutch blind fight, clutch Argus fight. It's just been a really good showing from both of our runners up until this point.
Yeah, there's a lot of room for different philosophies, like you said. You can be aggressive, you can do a lot of gambling, you can be really conservative and just like clean up every dungeon, just because you never want to leave something behind. Gambling's great when it works out, but sometimes you get randoed, like you end up leaving like your mirror in the basement of Hera for an hour or something, and then it feels really bad.
Yeah.
speaking from personal experience or anything, nah.
Yeah, it's amazing how you can go from feeling really good about a rando seed to feeling really bad about it in a very short period of time.
Oh, yeah. So taking down Mothula with no problem, having the Temper Sword and the Fire Rod and half magic, all the good tools to deal with Moth, and has got his sixth crystal. No, fifth, I'm sorry.
Well, it looks like Sabo is going in for either the big key or the last. No, they have the big key. So this will be the last item.
On the bridge chest, yep. So we were right. We have one item left in Skullwoods.
Shield.
Oh boy, we got a shield finally!
Hazu, unfortunately, getting the Ice Palace bomb jump and then walking off the side. That's the worst feeling in the world.
It is, and it unfortunately happens, and it's just like, oh man, I gotta do this again.
But again, though, I appreciate the fact that Hazu came prepared. Again, going back to knowing your limitations with Randomizer. If you know this is something you struggle with, and you're worried about taking damage and running low health, like the fact that she went and picked up potions, knowing that, like that not dying is always faster than dying, regardless of what strat you're using. So,
yeah,
so good on
100%.
Hazu for that.
Anytime you're not dying, you're saving yourself time. Yep. So Myershed comes up with nothing, and I didn't look at the medallion. I realized we were in Mire just a little bit too late because I was watching Hazu pull off her bomb jump.
I'm not 100% sure that Sabo looked at it. I might have missed it. Oh, there's go mode.
Oh, wow. Kane in checkerboard. What a place for it.
1 hour, 19 minutes, and 45 seconds. Go mode. So now it's just a matter, hopefully... Okay, good. Mire's not Quake. So this is going to be a pretty easy clear for Sabo. I mean, pretty easy late game. You have Tempered Sword. You have a ton of bottles. You have a ton of money if you want to go get potions. Sabo's in a really good place here.
Yeah, no, this is good. You know for sure that even if TR is that Quake medallion, we know where it is on the floating island. It will be just a quick trip to go pick it up. We know for sure that we can access that dungeon. There's nothing left to get. We'd like to see some armor. That'd be nice. I wonder how many kind of quick checks we might see to maybe pick up a blue mail at some point. But even then, we still got at least 12, 13 hearts on either side. It might not be worried too much about it.
Nice 2-cycle Mire 2 from Sabo there.
Really, a room that you can't give enough credit to people who make that room look really fast. They can just do the one cycle because it's not easy. The timing on that can be really, really tight.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite rooms to practice, just because, like, obviously, I mean, when you learn it, you just get through the room faster. But also, to me, there are a lot of principles in the room that just help your rando play in general. You learn a lot about tight movement and how Link moves. It's tight movement, but it's not pixel perfect movement like Hammer Yump or Ice Palace Bomb Jump. So it's one of my favorite rooms to practice. Like when people are trying to get better at the game, one of my first points is learn Mire 2, just because there's a lot of general principles in there that help the rest of your play.
So Mire so far has kicked us out just a pair of small keys. We were headed over to the left.
Hazu's getting a little low on health. 5 hearts, nowhere near death. But again, the late game in Ice Palace, things start to hit really hard.
Yeah, Ice Palace, after all, is the dungeon in which the game intends you to finally get your first armor upgrade.
So Sabo is skipping the cutscene chest for now. I approve.
I like it. Yeah, you can come back for that after you lobby and big. Yeah. Oh, lobby and not big. Map.
Let's see if he goes to the map chest or if he. Okay, yeah, he's going to map chest.
Yep.
No, I definitely agree with checking that. The compass chest, because if it's a small key, of course, that's where the big key is at that point.
Yeah, the key logic and that works out. Yep, there's our big key over there. Yeah, if you got a small key in the left chest there, you know 100% that the big key is vanilla because that's just how the key logic works out.
Yeah, I can't explain why, but someone told me it works, and I have yet to prove them a liar. So,
Yep, it definitely works. I've one of these days I keep telling myself I'm going to try to puzzle it out and actually figure out why that is. But until then, I'm happy to just say that it definitely works. You're welcome to try to prove it wrong, but it's 100%.
yeah, for better or for worse, that's for me, it's one of the things I really like about Rando, or some of the quirks about the logic. Where if you really pay attention to what you're finding in these chests, you can actually work out where things can and cannot be. Um, that's one of the more obscure uses. If you look at the code, I don't know that would ever occur to me. But the fact that it works, I think it is one of the cooler aspects of Randomizer. Certain
Yeah.
things I really enjoy. Oh
Oh
no,
no, Hazu.
that is one of the that's one of the most punishing deaths you can have.
You really hate to see that. She was setting up. She was getting the ice rod going. She had a good rhythm there, and then just got hit by the ice block from the top. Oh,
Man,
that's
she's trying to work out what to do right now.
Yeah.
Do you go get a safety, or do you try it again? Sabo is using arrows here. Well, he doesn't have any invincibility items. I would be a little bit more aggressive with my spins, because after this you go to Turtle Rock, get a GT, and you want to make sure you have enough for Armos and for Mimics. Granted, this is Randomizer, so you might find some arrows in chests, but you have to be careful with your arrow count going into GT.
Yep. There's definitely a potential to find yourself in GT and having less than 4 arrows for Mimic 1. And you got to think, man, where do I get arrows? And I'll tell you right now, the only I think their only arrow pots in GT are in the big room right before our Ice Armos.
Yeah, that, and then there is one pot in Mimics too. But arrows are actually like one of my favorite stun prizes. I know that's really weird, but like if I need health, I can almost always find health. If I need bombs, I can almost always find bombs. Same with rupees. But arrows, when you get to the parts of the game where you really need arrows all of a sudden, it can be very difficult to actually find arrows when you need them.
Yeah. Yeah, there are parts of the game early on, like Eastern, where you just get a fresh bow. There are arrow pots all over Eastern Palace. Like it's impossible to not find arrows. But yeah, later on they get awfully scarce.
Yeah, that was a really nice Death Mountain screen from Sabo there, carrying his hook speed all the way to the bridge screen. That is not easy to do.
Especially considering how RNG dependent it is. If one dead rock decides to get in your way, and then while you're waiting for that dead rock to move, you get tagged by a boulder like that. You don't always get a chance to do that. So it's really nice to see it.
Yeah, it looks like Hazu did decide to leave Ice Palace, and she is now in go mode.
She did get her cane. So good news is when she goes back to Ice Palace, assuming she's comfortable with the icebreaker, she can do that to get back into the bottom faster. But yeah, she did. I kind of don't blame her. Either way, you're going to end up back at the top of that dungeon eventually to do it. So yes, it feels like an okay kind of break from this boss that just kind of wrecked you.
Yeah, if you're not 100% comfortable with that, just go ahead, do Mire. If you're more comfortable with Mire, it's a nice mental break while you put yourself back together from, this death that's probably really frustrated you. So yeah, I agree with this call.
Actually, she might be really low on magic without refills too, which there's a pretty strong magic requirement within ice itself. If you don't have any way to get magic back, that's another reason you might just come back later after you had a chance to go like stock up on potions or whatever.
Yeah, there are 2 things in the entire game off the top of my head that I just believe to be very, very unfair. The first is the big key chest in Swamp, because when you think about the red-blue switch in where you drain the back of Swamp, it's one of the only rooms where you have to leave it the way you found it. You have to hit the switch so you can drain the dam, and then you have to hit the switch again so you can actually access the big key chest. It's one of the only rooms where you have to leave a switch the way you found it. And then the second one is Cold Stare. I think the boss is BS, honestly. The fact that you actually need a full magic bar to melt the shell or the Bombos medallion. I think that's a little unfair of the player without explicitly saying that.
It's a really big ask, and you can find yourself getting to the bottom where if you don't have full magic or even like low magic and you have bombos but not enough for it, like you just find, well, you just can't do anything with this boss. Well, I guess you got to come back, try again.
Yeah, I think that's really unfair.
Quick shout out to our readers from the ALTTPR League channel network running our open league matches. Welcome, Party of 31. We're pretty deep into our match, sab0tender versus Hazukitty, representing Spherefinity versus Tile Roomies. Hazukitty has recently entered Go mode by finding the Cane of Samaria in checkerboard, and we are just seeing them kind of rush down dungeons as fast as they can. sab0tender currently with a lead of 6 crystals to 3.
Yeah, do the streamer thing. So what game were you guys playing?
I never think about doing that to our raider party, but maybe I will, just to goof on them in the future. I mean, we know what they were doing. So it looks like Hazukitty is hoping to take the glimpse of the cutscene chest.
So Sabo probably not knowing it, but he just passed an arrow pot. And with 9 arrows, that's definitely a pot you want to pick up. So there are 3 pots right above the pipe that you exit before you enter this room right here. And the center one has 5 arrow pickup, but he did not pick that up. So he's going to be going into GT with not as many arrows as I would be comfortable with personally.
Yeah. Yeah, because you got to fight Ice Armos. Like, you need 18 for that. You need at least 4. Like, you want to have at least 22. Like, just to know for sure you can get through it. But, yeah, we'll have to see how he plays it out.
If he kills this, well, it doesn't look like he's got the powder out. It's like, if he kills this next pokey, he might actually get the arrow drop, but I don't think he's going to do that. I wouldn't personally, because it's slow.
It's still, you dealing with a pokey, yeah. Oh, missed the switch. Ooh, that's a lot of damage. How many hearts and rollers deal on green mail? A lot.
Yeah. This is very late in the game to have not gotten any mail upgrades. I would certainly, you know, if I were in Sabo's position, I would absolutely trade my shield for a mail upgrade. You know,
100%.
Shield doesn't really do much for you at this point. Yeah, Hazu has been flexing her game knowledge all in Mire. Very familiar where these bunny beam locations are in the lobby and in that room previous to this one, powdering them before even lifting up the pot. She knows exactly where they are. Really nice to see her making use of those.
A lot to be said for just like knowing where the stuff is. Like you might think, oh, you're just like you're focused on speedrunning the game as fast as possible. You don't need to know what's under these pots and all that. But like Rando can deal you such a variety of situations where like you're in Dark World, like you're in Mire with like 12, 13 hearts, but green mail, you can take a lot of damage from stuff. So knowing where those resources are can be really invaluable. Like, you ever find yourself wanting to practice something? Like, go through a dungeon and pick up every pot. Remember what's there, or go look at dungeon maps or something, the annotated ones. That's invaluable knowledge.
It really is. Did you play Link to the Past before Randomizer?
Oh, a lot. Link to the Past was... I actually didn't play it on Super Nintendo. I did not grow up with the SNES, but when it came out on the GBA release, that was one of my favorite games to play over and over again. I love the heck out of it.
Nice. I played it on the OG Super Nintendo. Did you know when you were playing in the vanilla game, did you actually know that you could powder anti-fairies and turn them into fairies?
I did, actually. I at some point, I think... I either read like a Nintendo Power Guide or something, or one of the other games kind of turns you onto that, because I think actually Link's Awakening was like my OG Zelda game, or it was Zelda 1. Either way, Zelda 1 didn't have anti-fairies, obviously, but Link's Awakening, I want to say actually at one point kind of like tells you that you can actually use the powder on them, or gives you a strong indicator, and that knowledge kind of carries forward with the rest of the Zelda franchise.
Nice. So get your numbers in chat. Sabo is entering GT. Anywhere from the first to the 22nd chest. Big key can be anywhere in GT. I actually did not know that you could powder anti-fairies or the bunny beams. I did not learn that until I started playing Rando. Another thing I didn't learn, I didn't know that you could use the hammer on Helmasaur's mask. I thought you had to use bombs.
It surprises me actually how many people did not know about the hammer on Helmasaur, because like I'm pretty sure when I played vanilla, that just seemed natural because you just get an item in a dungeon, and it's the Zelda staple. You get an item in a dungeon, you're going to use it to complete the dungeon. So, but yeah, I hear a surprising number of stories. People just say, "Oh, I just use bombs on him," because that's just what I thought I had to do.
Yeah, which when I was playing Link to the Past, I want to say I was like maybe 5 or 6. So like I was a smart kid, but like let's be honest, like I don't care how smart you are, Zelda's kind of up there for like a 6-year-old, you know. So I wouldn't say that hurt me, but I always hated Helmasaur because for me, I always Sabo having to take another try at the torture here. But I always hated Pod because I could never kill the boss because I thought you had to use arrows on the jewel. I thought you had to use bombs to break the mask, and I'd always run out of arrows and bombs. And of course, I didn't know you. Oh yeah, if you go give the fairy, 100 rupees, they'll give you a bow upgrade. Like I didn't know any of that.
Right. There's a lot to be said for getting stuck in your ways and not trying out different stuff, because once you find something that works, you may just stick with that. Yeah. I've actually been considering doing a completely vanilla run of the actual vanilla game, not just like rando, but with vanilla placements, just to see how it feels again. Because it's been a long time.
Yeah, one thing I always recommend to people who want to get competitive at rando is to actually learn the speedrun. Number one, for me, I just enjoy it. Like there's a weird zen to playing the game and to playing it well. And especially when you first start out, you get that first vanilla playthrough, and then you actually learn a few strats and you do it again, and you're like, man, I just saved 2 minutes off my time. But then you start getting really good. I wouldn't say really good, but like you start getting like sub 130, and then all of a sudden you're fighting for like 10-second PBs. Or it's like, man, if I could just get a gold split, not even PB. And at that point, it tends to become a little bit of a grind, more so than people want. But one of the best things you can do to boost your rando play is to learn how Link moves and how to get through each room effectively. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and the MG route will certainly teach you a lot of that. A good amount of execution difficulty too, because you're going to be like, what's it like? Green mail 12 hearts, I think, at the end, 12, 13.
Something like that, yeah. Depending on if you grab Sankard and stuff like that. But skipping Sankard is like, you might as well be on world record pace, because otherwise it's not.
You're getting like a couple of seconds out of that. Like you're really fighting for it. Yeah.
Yeah, Sankard doesn't really do much other than it allows you to get one more hit on Helmasaur, I think. I mean, it makes the early game a little like the Eastern Palace key skip, fighting Moldorm. Those are a little bit more comfortable fights, but beyond that, like once you get into the Dark World, I think the only advantage is that you can take one more hit from Helmasaur, assuming you make it to the fight with full health.
All right, so we're coming up on Rando Room on sab0tenders. If we're keeping count, we got 14 through 17 coming up here. 15. Whoever gets 15 is our winner. I don't think we started the bot on this one, so we're not dishing out any points for this race, but anyone gets 15, you got it. Actually, I see a 15 from our tracker here, Yornker's wife.
She is omniscient tracker.
Not only the first guess on 15, but looks like the first guess in general. So good job nailing that. And Hazukitty is, as we see, now back in Ice Palace, taking on the Cold Stare, having a much better time of it. Came in with a full health bar. Also was able to do the Icebreaker on her way back down, so saved a good chunk of time getting back to the refight and gets him down, no trouble this time.
Yeah, probably saying some choice words in her mind about how she feels about Cold Stare right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame her one bit.
Meanwhile, Sabo is entering the gauntlet, some of the most difficult rooms in the game. It's I can imagine being around the game design table, like, all right, so the first room's gonna have conveyors. All right, and the second room, a BMOS. All right, and the third room, and spikes. And the fourth room, and ice. Like, it's gonna be nuts.
It just keeps getting worse. Yeah. Thankfully, this is the only time you really see it in the game, but it's like these 5 rooms just like you can tell they were just trying to pour on as much challenge as possible. Without getting into like ROM hack territory, but I mean, to be fair, they didn't know ROM hack territory, but
Yeah, that was a really clean gauntlet from Sabo, what are you doing?
Sabo,
What is this, Sabo? He killed the bunny beam.
Did you know that you can kill bunny beams with bombos?
Don't die here, Sabo. Don't die to Lambo too, man.
He's a good death here because he's. Oh wow, that's too good. I mean, it'd be bad if he did take a death here, but also it'd be a really good opportunity to goof on him and be like, look.
Yeah, welcome our raid from Speed Gaming 3. This is the Link to the Past Randomizer League. This is the Skullwoods division, and we are currently sab0tender on the left versus Hazukitty on the right. Sabo is in gold mode in the last dungeon of the game. Hazukitty is clearing her crystals so she can join Sabo in Ganon's Tower. Looks like Sabo did manage to get all the refills he wanted, though.
Yeah, I think he just straight up burned a potion, because I think in the next room he just like he had a full refill coming out of it before the wizard room.
Getting through the staircase clean. I guess he is checking for silvers.
Maybe some armor too. Again, like we're sitting on green mail going into Ganon. You get a little more health than an MG. You got 15 hearts, but still, I mean, a Ganon hug on green mail. That's half of those hearts. That's taking out 8. You don't want to.
Yeah.
If you can avoid that at all costs, like yeah. Silvers would be a big improvement too here. So anything that could be happening. Nope, just a vanilla big 20. That's all we get.
I will say, I don't know mentally like how Sabo is as a player. I don't know how mentally put together he is. But I will say, if he is nervous at all, I'm not really seeing it in this GT execution. Aside from, that the Bama shenanigans, his Ganon's Tower has been pretty clean. Well, that and 2 cycling torture. But other than that,
yeah.
Other than the mistakes, it's been great.
I wonder if that's just kind of like rando nerves too, because I feel like there's a chance you can feel like you're behind and you're in your head about it, especially with the early routing choices. Like you're thinking, man, if I'm just gotta do as fast as I can. You're pushing yourself and you're maybe trying to go a little bit too fast, and you make those weird mistakes here and there, and it's definitely happened to me.
Yeah, even his Aga too, very clean. Hazu having some issues with Moth. Moth is, for those who don't know, this room is full of spikes.
You don't say.
Yeah, typically when you hit an enemy into a spike, it takes damage from the spike. Moth, however, with being a room full of spikes, the boss would die very quickly if that were the case. So they coded Moth to where if he takes no damage from spikes. So if you hit the Moth, ooh, that bad Ganon positioning from.
You got the interrupt, yeah.
Yeah, but if you knock Moth into a spike, it actually negates all damage that you do into the Moth. So swing as much as you want. If you're hitting Moth into the spikes, it is taking 0 damage. So it can go from the easiest boss you've ever done in the world to, it's literally invincible.
Not only that, but never spin with Tempered Sword because that upgrades it to Gold Sword damage, which is the same damage class as the spikes, and Moth will not take damage from it.
Oh no, Sabo taken to death.
Interestingly enough, if you have a gold sword on Mothula, the game mechanically downgrades that to a tempered sword, even though it still looks gold, just so they don't have to reprogram the damage classes.
So, of course, we know that Sabo's okay. We know that he has plenty of time. But our last match, GFE versus Jay Meacher, GFE took a Ganon fall in the last phase, and that ended up costing him the race. So I wonder how Sabo's feeling right now, having a death on Ganon, and he's like, oh no, this is the Spear Affinity curse now.
I mean, I feel like I don't know how these two are, whether they have like the race room open or they can see whether the other one's finished. I know I wouldn't. I prefer not to know if my opponent's finished, but it could definitely be in that situation of if that hasn't finished, you're thinking like, man, any second that dot done could come in, like it could be nerve wracking.
Yeah, Sabo's finally got rid of the circular bats. The circular bats only appear if you don't hit Ganon fast enough. So Sabo having a little bit of issues getting in there to actually hit Ganon. But now he's on a good cycle. He's going to be able to easily get to Ganon before he shoots that fire bat.
Good cycle subjective here. We're seeing a fair number of bonus teleports. Light World arrows.
Good fire bat manipulation from Sabo there. Light World, I think, would have to be the Smith at this point.
Yeah, Smith Chain. That's the one we didn't see.
I think everything else has been checked. Either that or Mimic Cave.
Yeah, you're right. Mimic Cave's possible. It is a Light World check. Yeah, there's a no. I think that's Death Mountain, isn't it? Or is that still Light World, the hint system? I don't know.
Yeah, I honestly don't know.
No, in the log, it's in the Death Mountain group. So I think it might. I don't know. I'm not sure whether Ganon would say Death Mountain there, but yeah, there's not much left that could be. It's most likely Smith Chain. Yeah.
Yeah, Sabo going for a triple there. Unfortunately, missing the second and the third slash, or the first and the second slash.
I'm gonna say probably he's. I'm gonna say he's probably nervous as heck right now. Just like get down to where you're trying to execute these triples, and it's just like you're just a little off on the timing on them. And it's just compounding. You're just like, man, I want to get through this fight, and he's done it.
Congratulations. Get your GGs in chat for Sabo, assuming he can safely walk across this bridge. This will be Sphere Affinity's first win of the season.
Once he's crossed, we're going to get an official time from racetime.gg of 1 hour, 45 minutes, and 18 seconds.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and see. Let's see if Hazu decides to continue going. All right, there's a pause menu. It's looking like she might have forfeited.
Yeah, it looks like she just inserted that on the race time page. Yeah, and I kind of don't blame her. Like at this point, you've got at least a couple of. You're in TR. You're just starting TR. You still got a good chunk more to play out, and you might just want to relax after this. I don't blame her one bit.
Yeah, Hazu also has a lot of game left in terms of Turtle Rock, finding GT Big Key.
We're going to see if we can get him in here to hang out and chat with us for a few minutes here.
All right, I think I might go ahead and get Sabo in here. I see that he's waiting.
Yeah.
GG, Sabo.
Hey, yeah, GG's.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I made some not so great plays. And honestly, I thought that I had left the door open for Hazu because, like, she's come so far. She can really put in some good times, and I thought I had maybe slipped up just a little bit there. I was nervous making the climb up against Tower there.
So I have some guesses, but I guess just your general thoughts of the seed. I imagine that there were some points where you felt behind. Do you care elaborating on how you felt about some of your
Yeah.
decisions?
Well, you darn right. I
I'm
felt like I was
imagining it
behind.
came right after Dark World access.
Oh boy, that was fun. I like Pendant Pod, and I thought, there's got to be something in here, and just nothing. And then the powder, and I was like, oh, maybe powder, and then no, no. So I was tilted for most of this race.
Yeah, it really didn't show. There were a couple of calls that in which I kind of commented on both yours and Hazu's routing. For the most part, it was pretty solid. I think your early game was a little bit more conservative than Hazu's was. Um, but yeah, after Dark World, the fact that you went to Pendant Pod for nothing but powder, you killed Helmasaur. Believe it or not, both you and Hazu went straight to Pendant Pod after Dark World access. Um, she did not kill
Huh.
Helmasaur, and she did not go to Catfish and Zora. But otherwise, you both made that call.
Mm, I see. I see.
Yeah, it was really interesting seeing you both go right for Pendant Pod, like just like it was there was a lot of potential for a divergence there. One of you could have easily gone straight for Village and been like honestly much better off because we saw how Pendant Pod played out. But you went both for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think because I felt like the light world was just so drawn out and awful, trying to get those boots for me that I at that point I was like, I need to go somewhere where I can get a lot of like really dense checks in one place, and I thought, okay, like maybe pod is the thing. There's that's gonna swing the race a little bit, and yeah, with it then not having anything in it, definitely kind of compounded my kind of frustration with how everything was going so far.
Yeah, Moon Pearl was really deep in this seed. It was actually Sphere 5, right? So you had to get the flute from Mini Moldorm. You had to get the mirror from Ice Rod Cave, which got you the lamp out of Paradox, which got you the mushroom out of Dark Cross, which gave you the boots off of the mushroom turn-in, which finally gave you your Moon Pearl. And then we didn't find progression. I think the next progression we saw on stream was after you both did Pendant Pod for powder, um, and then you both did Thieves Town for nothing. And I think about the same time, Hazu found Master Sword, and that was the first progression we had seen in like 20 minutes. At the same time, you were finding Ether, and we're like, "This is it? Like, this is the progression?"
Yeah, there was just this huge lull. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like, I could feel that lull. It was just like, no, more trash, more nothing, more 20 rupees. Like, it was just like, come on, there's gotta be something here.
Yeah, and then to top it off, like, how did you feel finding Mitts on Left Side Swamp? Did you feel good about that, or did you feel anxious? Because at that point, Mitts opens up the mountains, opens up the Mire area, it opens up the Smith Chain, which are all none of them are like really great without the Cane of Samaria. And then of course you still had that Ice Rod out there.
Yeah.
How did you? Hello.
Oh hey, I think we're being joined by Hazu. What's up, GG's?
Thank you. So how did you do? Did you find any of those mails?
No, where the heck were they, huh?
I still don't have them. And
Ah,
it's
no kidding.
kind of confusing, really.
I feel like we cleared a fair chunk of this seed. So
We
it must
did.
have been
Yeah.
bottom part of GT, Desert Palace. I think Desert Palace might have had one of them.
That's probably gonna be it. Yeah.
Yeah, the Ganon hint said that silvers were in the light world, and at this point, the only place that could have been Mimic Cave, depending
Smith
on
chain.
whether that's. No, actually, it ended up being Pedestal, believe it or not.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
What?
Reddit gave us a stick and twine on the pedestal. Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah,
Wait.
like even then, it's like Mimic Cave, depending on whether that's Death Mountain or Light World, and then Smith Chain. Those were the only or the Smith in particular. Those are the only options that were left.
So it's pedestal?
for the
yeah,
silvers, yeah.
Yeah, as per Sabo's credits.
Ugh.
Ouch.
Yeah,
no
no
armor
kidding.
to find anywhere. Only one bow easily accessible. What a rough seed, honestly. And the swords were really late. I was thinking, like, is this cross keys with how late we're having to go for swords? Seriously.
I honestly
Mhm.
starting to suspect that they accidentally gave us a swordless seat.
Oh, yeah, right. Especially, I mean, I didn't do the K45 and dig game forever, so I was definitely thinking, yeah, this is pretty brutal.
So how many dungeons did you have? Did you do without swords?
Oh, jeez.
I did just
Eastern Palace, Pod,
Eastern.
and then Thieves. I did
Yeah, you
Thieves.
Yeah,
both
I think the
Yeah.
only difference was that Sabo dove Skull Woods before he found his skull. So, Hazu, you did Skull Woods and went south. I'm sorry, you did Thieves
and went south.
Sabo did Thieves and went north to Skull in North Dark World.
Yeah. Demon RHK like lectured me about, skipping woods, but I just wasn't really feeling woods.
It was a good call because that was just trash in there.
It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah, useless ether.
Yeah, no kidding.
But what about that Agaseed, man?
Yeah, they've been everywhere this week so far. So I wasn't surprised,
for-
honestly, seeing flippers there. Like, yeah, okay, sure, fine.
Yeah.
I think it's like just about every practice I've done has been like Aga required for Dark World access.
Yuck.
Yeah.
So a question for Sabo, and I kind of asked this. I started this question earlier, but Mitts on left side swamp, right? So up until that point, the seed had been very linear. There were just these bottlenecks. You got bottlenecked, ironically, with the Master Sword. You got bottlenecked with the flippers, but then you find Mitts. And Mitts opens up the map quite a bit. You got the mountain and the Mire area, neither of which are good without the cane. Then you have the Smith Chain, which is just like, do I want to do it before or after these dungeons? And then, of course, Ice Palace, which is a crystal dungeon, but is also a much faster go mode than it is to full clear. So in your mind, like, the way I kind of see linear seed, it favors those with good execution, but then the map opens up with the mitts, and it's like, oh crap, this cane and ice rod can be literally anywhere right now. How did you feel when you found the mitts? Did you feel good about it, or were you starting to get a little anxious because you felt behind and now you're basically doing 2 ice rod hunts?
Yeah. With the mitts, I would say that I was a little frustrated that it then opened up the seed more, and there was just more stuff that I could have done. But as soon as I picked them up, because I kind of already felt behind, my only play was going to be to Ice Palace, even though, yeah, go moding Ice Palace would have been way better because, again, there was just trash in there. I wanted to get another
You
crystal
felt
on the
behind?
board. Oh, yeah. I did a lot of things that I thought, you know what? I don't know if Hazu's going to go into Pendant Pod. And I went through
I did.
the entire... You did?
You
but
both
I didn't
did,
know
same
that.
time.
Really at the same
although-
time?
Yeah, y'all were both in pod at the same time, although Sabo stayed for Helmasaur and then followed up with Catfish and Zora.
I did everything over there. It was just... Yeah, because I did a lot of things that I thought, okay, these things might work out, they might not. But I figured that you might have gone, village side, and that would have been way better.
So now to Hazu, I feel like the story of your entire performance was boss fights, right? And I know, of course, all of this is overshadowed by a death to Cold Stare, which I know is like the worst feeling in the world.
Cold Stare is one of my worst fights.
Yeah, but you went into well, first I wanted to start with this. You went into Hammer Blind. Did you think you had a potion because I was thinking, I was like, man, Hammerblind, like you're a little low on health. I was like, this is a challenging fight. But I also saw you menu to the bottle, and you kind of stood there for a second, and I didn't know if you thought maybe you had a potion that you didn't have.
I was just staring at it. I was like, do I want to go in without this? And then I said, yeah, I do.
So you took that death, and if it were me, I would have been like, man, I just died to Hammerblind. No way I'm going back into this fight. I'm already tilted, right? I just died. I'm already tilted.
I
went back into the fight, and you had probably one of the best, most clutch Hammerblind fights I've ever seen, finishing it on one heart, like a boss. What was going through your mind at that time?
Well, it's like, I wanted to be prepared. I kind of really wanted to win. I wanted to make the miracle happen. And I had been practicing with the practice ROM before the race, and I could pull off a blind fight with a fighter sword easy, with just the amount of health it gives you on the preset, and I pulled it off with the hammer. So I have more hearts than it gave you in the practice ROM preset, so I can do it.
Yeah, that was super exciting to watch. Both of you had you never think of Argus as a clutch boss, right? Like Argus is pretty routine, but both of you, like Sabo, got right on top of Argus, and I'm pretty sure he released a spin on the last frame.
Oh,
and just
it was
barely
terrifying.
That defensive spin that was it was so close.
And then Hazu, her last hit, when Argus fell, I kid you not, Argus fell directly on Hazu, and I have no idea how she avoided taking damage.
Oh, fantastic.
I'm glad I actually put up a good performance. I was worried about whether I would, measure up to, I'm as close to a Sabo, and Sabo's really good. I just wanted to give him a good race.
Yeah,
you
really
totally did. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it was kind of interesting to highlight some of the differences, right? And I mentioned this a couple times throughout the restream that one of the best skills that you can have in Rando is knowing your skill cap, right? Knowing what you're comfortable with and knowing what you're not comfortable with. So there were quite a few times where you ended up, Hazu, in danger with health, but you almost always had a potion. Yeah, the one exception being Cold Stare, I believe.
Yeah, I just that was on me. I had potions, I just didn't use them.
So, but other than that, though, even with the Eastern Palace Big Key Room, to see you use the intended strategy to get the big chest rather than doing the damage boost, stuff like that, not dying is almost always faster than dying. So to see you realize okay, this is what I'm comfortable with, and this is what I'm not comfortable with, and to watch you do that throughout the scene, it was really interesting to see the contrast.
I'm comfortable with the damage boost, but I was a little worried about the amount of health I had. I was like, if I don't get this right, I don't want to, die. Yeah.
A couple of questions, or one more question I had, and I guess we'll start with Sabo. But you're Pyramid Fairy, right? So both of you, you clear blind. That's your second 5/6 crystal. You find your sword, so you know you can do Aga right now. In my mind, I would think okay, I can pick up the big bomb and take it to the pyramid on my way to do Aga. Neither of you did this. My first thought was, oh, well, maybe they're waiting until after Aga so that they can capitalize on the mirror. But Sabo, you didn't do that anyways. I don't know if you forgot the mirror or what. But you took the long way around, even though you could have mirrored and taken the portal. So both of you put off Pyramid Fairy until after Aga. So I was wondering if there was any reason in particular why both of you did that.
I didn't realize what crystals I had until I was in Swamp.
Okay, I did see that map check. I did see you do another map check.
Yeah,
I was actually in the same. I was in the same boat there. I did not know which crystals were the 5/6, and then I super botched it with the whole mirror situation as well. So I was
Where was Mirror again?
all wrong when it came to that.
Where was the
where
mirror
was
again?
Mirror
I
was
can't
Ice
remember.
Rod Cave.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
it's early on, right?
Yeah, and I
Wait.
was worried because Sabo actually put off Ice Rod Cave. Also,
Because
Sabo,
I
you
hate
went to
Ice Rod Cave.
You
went
put
to
off.
the
I
Nobody
knew
likes
it. I knew you put off Ice Rod Cave the whole time. I was like, Sabo put this off.
Heck yeah, I did. I hate that place.
Yeah, unfortunately, the seed with that mirror, that mirror was a very quick bottleneck, unless you did Dark Cross in the dark. But yeah, the one question I did have for you, Sabo, you went to Eastern before you activated the flute. Was there any reason why? Why not just activate the flute and then flute to 5?
You know, I don't know. I just, I was like, okay, you know, I feel like I just left stupid village, and so I was like, fine, let's just go to Eastern, and then we'll do the village afterwards. Like, I don't know, maybe I don't know, I don't even know what I could have got in Eastern Palace that would have like routed in better to make the flute, to put the flute off. So there again, like, man, just
maybe
no
maybe
reason,
boots.
just a couple of dumbs.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was like
Maybe
a
I was thinking
tactical
boots. Yeah.
reason. Yeah, sure,
Oh,
we'll go
no.
with that.
I mean, like, there was a small thought, but it wasn't like a really well thought out thing. No.
So I asked this. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't expect to be right about you skipping the mirror in the Ice Rod Cave. It's like the moment I got flute, I was like, you know what? I should activate this. And then I did
Yeah.
Ice Rod Cave. And then I just went
Nice.
straight up the mountain.
Yo, gamer
like-
right here.
So
See, like, you knew my weakness. You knew my weakness. I think I've talked about Ice Rod Cave before, and so you definitely put that in the back of your mind and thought, oh, he's gonna skip it for sure.
Yeah, but when I found the mushroom in Dark Cross, I was like, oh, god damn it. If Mushroom had been at the top of the mountain, I might have had a better chance of winning.
Hey, it would have put you ahead at the start for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Adler, do you have any questions you want to ask the runners?
I think at this point, I mean, it's been a very thorough interview. I can't think of anything else I would ask. I just want to say, like, again, GG's to you both. You honestly put on a very solid race. This seed was really interesting. It was really linear in progression. There's a lot of opportunity for execution. So, like, again, congrats to both of you. Like, you both did really well.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Any final thoughts to each other before we sign off?
I'm just glad I got to race you, Sabo. I mean,
I know, Hazu. We keep running into each other in here, and it's great. So
you're like
GG's.
you were one of my first friends in Rando, and you were like also the first person I raced when I won.
I mean, like way back in the day. I can't believe it that we're still here after all that time. So yeah, it's cool.
I'm just glad.
Go ahead.
I'm glad to have a good friend like you.
Right on. Yeah, same. And GG's again for a great race. And I want to thank P-Train, my homie, and Adalor here doing comms, and Yoinker's wife tracking behind the scenes. Thank you so much.
And thank you for all the positive memes. They helped me through difficult times.
Right on.
Oh,
So, yeah,
by the
that's
way,
it
for the
me.
record, 2:12:57.
Hey, yo, 212. Not bad.
Well, yeah. I'm just a little surprised because I just never got it really. I never really got a chance to do much with, super speed. Despite the fact that I spent the entire before the race, like practicing it just because I was worried about wanting to be on even ground with you. Because like everybody knows
wait
that.
till our next race.
We were laughing about you after Aga coming off the pyramid because you got a spin speed, and I think you kept it like on the entire pyramid. Like you made it a point to go down the steps to keep the spin speed. I was like, man, she really likes the spin speed.
I thought you lost spin speed when you took damage.
You don't. So it stopped if you're in spin speed. It does stop the spin speed, but it's still armed. So if you trigger it on steps again, you still have it.
Really? I didn't know that.
it's jumping down a ledge that will actually cancel it entirely. It disarms it, so you would have to react to the spin again if you jump off a ledge.
Yeah, I was just kind of surprised when after getting hit, I went down the steps and was like, wait, what? Okay then.
Right. You can see that like in Eastern Palace, and you're climbing up to the entrance. If you bump one of the guards, but you haven't jumped after the ledge drop, you can still activate it by getting on the next tier.
Right! I could have actually made use of spin speed there. I forgot about that. I'm so used to not being able to do the super speed that I barely register times where I can use it.
Yeah, I mean, props to this seed for giving us boots nice and early and giving us lots of opportunities.
Yeah, so with that, I think we'll go ahead and sign off. And to echo what sab0tender was saying, thank you very much, Yoinker, for tracking. This job is literally impossible without you, so we really appreciate you. Adler, I thoroughly enjoyed commentating with you, man. This is a good one.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. I'm getting to run into I'm getting really hard into commentary. This is my first giant tournament that I've been able to really get involved with. I started out with the mentor tournament. Actually, kind of got me into it, and I did a few dailies here and there. But League has really got me jumped into it. I've been getting to meet people over commentary, and it's been really cool. It's thoroughly enjoyable.
Oh, it was nice meeting you too.
Yeah, and getting to talk to the runners as well. It's just making friends over rando, and it's neat.
It's nice to be able to actually talk to people for once.
Yeah, cool stuff, guys. Well, GG's everybody. Great race. Really enjoyed commentating it. Really enjoyed watching it. GG's to everybody. I don't know if there's a button I press. I don't know if there's anyone I hand this off to. I'm just going to say thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. And it was a pleasure to commentate this. And I will catch you all later. Have a good evening.
I'd like to toss in real quick, if you're not following all the Speed Gaming channels, Speed Gaming Main and then 2 through 6, make sure you're doing so. We've got a ton of matches going on everywhere. And keep an eye out for the schedule. Tomorrow we've got 6 races for Friday, starting at 7:10 Eastern on Speed Gaming Main. That'll be Pug Trio versus the Sexy Gannons. Be there or be square. Until then, have a good night, everyone. Take care.